I hope you all are doing great today. Here are 3 chilling nighttime encounters. If you would like to support the channel and listen and learn from more real experiences like these, please leave a like and subscribe. I appreciate you all being here. Now, let's settle in and get right into it. A stranger knocked on my door for 20 minutes. I'm a 22-year-old woman, and last night, my husband woke me up at around 11:50 to tell me that someone has been knocking on our door and ringing our apartment doorbell for about 10 minutes on and off. He woke me so I could possibly identify the person. Once I looked out our upstairs apartment window, I saw the man walking to his car in the parking lot. It was right across the street from our unit. He was wearing blue jeans and a gray t-shirt, medium build, possibly 30 years old. He was blonde. He wasn't covering his face or anything, but the thing is, he was carrying what looked like resistance bands or rope. He sat in his car for around 3 minutes while I was on the phone with dispatch. Then, he came back to our door and knocked hard for another few minutes. Dispatch told me that police were on their way, and they hung up. I started recording the vehicle. I read out the tag number and make and model and just watched as he put his car in park and reverse over and over again. Out of seemingly nowhere, he backed out of the parking lot and started rushing away, but not before the officer arrived and pulled him over. My downstairs neighbor knocked on my door and told me that he had been peering into her little children's windows and was pounding on her door as well. She said that her husband had left only 1 minute before he started knocking at her door. She said he saw her children through the window, and that's why he continued knocking. Our doors are right next to one another, so he likely didn't know what door he wanted open. He was watching us as well through our upstairs windows, so I turned all of the lights out and shut the blinds while I called dispatch. The police never contacted us for a statement. I've reached out about an update, and I'm waiting to see if any action was taken. We're keeping our eyes peeled to see if he's been following us. I'm replacing my porch light bulbs with motion detectors and putting bars in our windows and door tracks. My neighbor and our families are panicked, to say the least. He was outside for about 30 minutes. Update. I'm trained in firearm usage and now live in a state where I can open carry. We're going this weekend to get a firearm. My husband will be taking some classes as he came from somewhere where owning a gun is illegal, so he's never handled one. I'm still waiting on a call from the responding officer. I have his badge number and name, so if they don't reach out to me tonight, I'll call the substation. If they didn't do anything, I'll go ahead and make a suspicious person's case for the paper trail. We had no odd encounters last night. However, while I was looking at the video I took, I remember that car. About a week ago, I was walking my dog at 8 p.m., and this car was driving really slowly through the parking lot and parked a few spots down from where I was letting my dog sniff. They just sat there with the car running. When I tell you my ears started ringing and I got an awful feeling, I'm not joking. I turned around and went home. Didn't even give my dog the chance to use the bathroom and shut every door and window in the apartment. I think this man has been staking out our building, me and my neighbors. I think he wanted to get in where those children are. I'll update when I have more information. Update number 2. It's been a week since the incident. I called dispatch today because I never received a follow-up from the responding officer. A sergeant from the police department called me back to give me more info. He said that they pulled over the man, ran him to make sure there were no warrants, and asked him what he was doing. He told the officer that he was meeting up with an acquaintance. The officer let him go with no further questions. Not only that, the responding officer is also a sergeant. I about lost my mind. The sergeant I spoke to today stated that he should have looked into it more. It was obviously an attempt at burglary. The responding officer is supposed to call me tonight when he gets on duty. I'm livid, honestly. Zero due diligence for this case, but there's not even a case. No case number, just a documented police contact. I'll give more info when I have it. Update 3. Final update. The officer finally called me. Here's how the conversation went. Hello? I answered groggily. It was well past midnight. Hi, ma'am. I was told you have some questions about an incident a few nights ago. Yes, about Thursday. I wanted to know what that man told you he was doing. He was looking at windows and carrying potential restraints. I'm not sure if that was relayed to you or not. I stopped him, ran his tags, and he told me that he was meeting up with a guy from a dating app. He seemed forthcoming and open with his motive for being there. He was meeting up with someone by looking in windows, knocking on 2 different doors for 20 minutes. I was shocked and still not fully awake. Like I said, he seemed forthcoming and honest with me. So was Jeffrey Dahmer, was the first thing that came to mind. With resistance bands, like workout bands. He had a lot of belongings in his car, so he probably just had them in there. Right, but bringing them to a hookup, knocking on multiple doors, he saw the little girls through the window. He waited until my neighbor's husband left until knocking. That's on tape, officer. I checked in with the apartment management after the incident. Well, I'm familiar with this individual and I've been doing drive-thrus of your complex to make sure he doesn't come back. I haven't seen anything. If you don't have any more questions, I'll let you go, ma'am. Doesn't make sense to me, but thanks. Goodbye. And I hung up. I don't have much to say. I just feel so icky about that conversation. Nothing new has come of the situation. I haven't seen the man or the car. My mind is blown at the lack of follow-up or due diligence. I live in a suburb. It's not a busy one either. The police department has a small jurisdiction, so I guess I'll have to protect myself. Was someone watching us? This story still gets me even now, almost 20 years later. I think I was 18 at the time, and my boyfriend, his best friend's girlfriend, and I all decided to take a drive one night. It was kind of late, maybe around 10 or 11. We drove out to this small lake that's a few miles outside of town. It's a place where people swim and boat and fish during the day. At night, it's deserted though. There are no houses in the near vicinity either. There is one way in and one way out of this area. So, on the way in, as we're driving into where the dock is, we notice that there's some trash on the side of the road. Not just normal litter either. They were large items such as a recliner and a water heater. Weird, right? Anyway, we drove in and got out of the car. We walked out to the dock and chilled there for maybe about 5 minutes. We headed back to the car to leave. However, on the way out, that stuff was now blocking the road. This scared the living hell out of us. It didn't make any sense. We had just come in a couple of minutes before, and now the stuff was moved. We didn't see anyone. We didn't hear anyone, but it felt like there were people out there watching us, which was terrifying. The boys moved the stuff out of the way so we could get out of there, and we hightailed it the hell out. My heart was racing, and we all felt like we avoided some sort of danger. It was like someone was trapping us in there, and it still scares me this long after it happened. A hooded man tried to lure my mother out of the house in the middle of the night. This happened a while ago, so my recollection of this isn't going to be word for word, but here goes. I'm a teenager. My mother and I live alone. We live basically in the middle of nowhere. Nearest town is a little less than an hour away, and the only things we have near us are a gas station and a bar. I know everyone who lives near me, and we rarely ever see new people in our neck of the woods, so just seeing someone who isn't familiar is suspicious enough. So, this was pretty creepy. A couple years ago, it was the middle of the night. My mother and I are night owls. We like to be awake from that midnight 6 a.m. time period that most people prefer to sleep during. My mother was watching TV in the living room, and I was using the computer in the kitchen. The kitchen and the living room are basically connected, so I wasn't too far away from her, only a few feet. The front door leads right into the living room, and it's a windowed door, so it's pretty easy to see in. My mom looked towards the door, and she saw somebody staring at her through the window. He was wearing a hood that obscured almost all of his face. My mom jumped, and she of course walked to the door and asked him what the hell he was doing. According to my mother, he looked pretty young, but she could barely see his face, so who knows how old he was. The man said something along the lines of, could you help me with my car, please? In a tone I could only describe as miserable and off-putting. Even though it was dark out, there should have been enough light for her to see a car. There was no car. The man was also holding his hands in his pockets pretty tight. My mother said no and apologized. This caused him to grip whatever it was in his pockets tighter, so tight it caused his arms to tremble. He stayed for a few more minutes, and then he swiftly disappeared. Throughout the night, maybe 1 or 2 hours later, we thought we had heard slight weeping, but we didn't see anyone at any of our doors or windows. I may be making assumptions here, but I can only assume it was a weapon he was holding in his pockets. This was a creepy as fuck experience, and it's safe to say he was going to lure my mother out of the house to do something sinister to her. A year ago, there was a very small metal plate jammed between the front door strike plate and the piece that goes inside of it. I'm not sure what it's called. We have zero idea where this metal plate came from, but it stopped our doors from locking, so I'm assuming it was put there so somebody could get in later. It was deliberately placed there by somebody, and we're not sure why. It made me think of that guy at the door. But these things are probably not related.